I decided to buy a gallon of this chemical. I could smell it through the bottles, which come in several layers of plastic wrap. r/prorevenge. What is up, guys? Mr. Reddit here, back with another episode of Pro Revenge Stories. r/prorevenge is one of my favorite subreddits, and I really enjoyed making this. So kick back, relax, and enjoy the show. Our first story today is called You Pollute the Neighborhood with the Smell of Your Shisha and Loud Music? Get struck by the sweet odor of the chemical essence of vomit and crap. After that, we'll be reading, My top manager tried to flip me, so I got her fired 2 times. After that, Blackmail Me? Ha, okay, lose $10,000. And after that, we'll head over to r/petty revenge to finish up with 2 very short but very sweet petty revenge stories. Welcome to our newest subscribers, Nichelle, Londi, and Pixel. And if you're new, please subscribe for new stories from Reddit every single day. You pollute the neighborhood with the smell of your shisha and loud music? Get struck by the sweet odor of the chemical essence of vomit and crap. My neighbor and my family don't get along so well. That's the order of the day in neighborhoods all around the world, and as long as everyone complies with the law and generally aims at a peaceful cohabitation, there is no problem with not being best friends with everyone. However, with said neighbor, it has just become too much. He, in his late 20s, still hasn't achieved much more in his life than getting a mediocre high school degree with 16. He financially relies on his family's heritage, plays computer games during daytime, and invites friends to hang out with for the evening and night. During summertime, he would often invite between 5 and 15 people several times a week, also on workdays, and sit outside with them, not more than 3 yards away from our property. Then they play horrible pseudo-gangster music for the whole street to enjoy and smoke cheap, strawberry-flavored shisha tobacco till late night. Whether this annoys me or not, according to local laws, they can absolutely do so till 10 p.m. After that, they can't play loud music anymore. Yeah, as if they cared. Or as if the police cared, who never showed up after we called them at midnight or 1 a.m. several times when our noisy neighbors were still outside, making it impossible for us to sleep. So, something had to be done, and I had a Walter White-worthy approach in mind. A bit of research brought me to a substance that probably comes directly from hell, called butyric acid. Its smell could be described as that of poop, farts, smelly feet, sweat, or vomit. Those things, however, feature only tiny amounts of this substance. Thus, I decided to buy a gallon of this chemical, but concentrated up to almost 100%. When I ordered it on the internet, it's not illegal, it's commonly used as a mouse repellent. I could smell it through the bottles, which come in several layers of plastic wrap. Let me tell you, 1 drop of it in a closed room, and you won't ever want to go back inside. Having received my order, I gleefully waited for my neighbors to get together for their next major party. As always, I didn't have to wait for a long time. They gathered on their veranda, prepared their shisha and a barbecue, and started having a good time, involuntarily, not to be ignored by the rest of the neighborhood. It was my time to stink. I proceeded to release the essence of poo upon them, the stuff nightmares are made of. Imagine the smell of a mobile toilet after a 72-hour festival. Now forget that again, because it is a light spring breeze compared to pure butyric acid. It took 2 minutes or so for this sweet, or rather sour flavor of vengeance to propagate itself in our neighbors' direction. Their faces went from their usual dull expressions, unequivocally revealing their intellectual capacities that must be on the level of a slice of toast, to utter incredulity, followed by a short phase of denial of reality, quickly superseded by an expression of unfathomable disgust, to can't tell you what means followed, since they moved inside at a speed at which I've never seen them move before, obviously taking a fair amount of the stench with them into their house, since all the windows were open. This happens to them every now and then, usually using much less of the substance than the first time, whenever I feel disturbed by the smell of their shisha. I don't do it too often, of course, so they can't localize the origin of the smell. And don't worry about the other neighbors. They are not that close and mostly have their windows closed anyways. Also, the smell is volatile and fizzles out after like 15 minutes. Next up, we've got my top manager tried to flip me, so I got her fired 2 times. So at first, I want to apologize for any grammatical mistakes in this post because English is not my first nor second language. For now, some background. I am from Russia, living in second biggest city in our country, and a decent student in university, second year. This information will be useful later on. So, story begins at a time when I was only in school, last year. Here we don't have high school or middle school. We just have 11 years of education and then uni. That was 2 months before my exam for applying to uni, and I was in search for a job. I wanted to have my own apartment because I was living this entire time with my grandparents and didn't want them to lug me on their back any longer. That took a while, but I found a job that was paying a decent amount of money for a part-time job. I was only 17 and could not afford to work full-time. It was a job at a call center, and boy oh boy, that was a BS job. Here comes the object of our story. Let's call her M, short for Mary, and boy oh boy, Mary hated me. She was my top manager. I was just the manager that was just taking calls or calling people to give them our BS product. Literally for free, of course. And Mary was the woman that would take 10 other employees and stack them together in one group. For a month and a half, it was okay. Mary even gave me her working phone because there weren't enough phones for everybody in her group. I thought that was okay and did nothing about it. I was doing fine. I had 11 clients that actually bought our product and was really happy. Then the storm came. At one day I was called by my boss and said that if I do not have any clients until the end of the month, I will be fired. I said to him that I already had 11 clients in 1 month and that I thought that would be enough for a starter. He said that it had already been a month and that he didn't want to hear that BS and that I should take situations in my hands like a big boy and deal with them. I was on fire. I didn't understand how this happened. Then, like a spark, I got it. That jerk Mary. Something was off, and I asked my friend to play a role in my plan. I wasn't sure that Mary did something to me, so I wanted to be sure. My plan was easy. I call my friend, he pretends to be a customer, and then I take records for everything and look how this unfolds. Of course, Mary was messing me up. As it unfolded, there was well enough phones for everybody. What I didn't know was that every phone had the ID of the worker in it, so every call I gave and every client I had was on her account. How wasn't I fired yet, you ask? Easy. She was doing some calls from my phone with my ID every day, and this was where my revenge started. Revenge plan. 5 friends of mine will pretend to be clients, and this will be my evidence that I spoke to them and they were mine, though I talked from Mary's phone. Remember how Mary called from my phone now and then? Every time she called from the work phone, my phone, and my site, I tried to rush from the place. We have cameras everywhere, so then I can call her out that she was pretending to be me and stealing on my clients. The day. Everything was set up and I was ready to get my revenge. 2 videotapes from security cameras and 15 papers with my client calls in text was on our boss's table. Mary's face was in such a shade of red when I was asked to come speak with the boss that I assumed that she was a giant star. She fumed, but good old boss said her exact same thing that I heard from him. He told her he was not taking her BS, and she was fired, but promised me that one day she will get me back and hard. Well, this is where our second part of the story starts. It will be short, so stay with me. I lasted on this job for 2 more months and got a better full-time job because already I had turned 18. Already in university, but shamefully only through my parents, and my grandmother actually taught there. But still, I'm trying my best to be a good student. One day I walked into the office of my grandmother. She is also a big deal in our university. And who do you think I see working for my grandmother as her phone assistant? It was Mary. Her look was like, "Oh yes, I found a way to get revenge on you." But little did she know that I was the grandson of her boss. And when I kissed my grandma on her cheek, her face said everything for her. Next day, she got fired. There was no plan though. I just told my grandma my story with her, and to this day, I don't feel guilty for that. Thank you for staying with me. It's my first time posting on Reddit, and I'm glad that I could share this story with somebody. Next up, we've got Blackmail Me? Ha, okay. Lose $10,000. Okay, so this story is one that I've been holding on to for months, but I've just never thought to put it here. It is going to be a bit of a long one because I have to start this story from around November of last year. I lived in a dorm with 3 other girls. Let's call them best friend 1, 2, and 3. Right around the end of November, we started to have rat problems, which was fine. We just have to tell the residential assistant. So at the end of the semester, when we are checking out, we tell our residential assistant that there is a rat in our air vents. They act all surprised and tell us that they will take care of it. While all this is happening, I'm complaining about it to my other good friend, the jerk of this story, and he's telling me that I'm doing all that I should be doing to fix the problem. He is a residential assistant for another set of dorms, so he knows what is supposed to be done. Let's call him Jerk. Moving on to January of this year, best friend 1 and 2 have moved back in early while I'm in another city. I get a call from one of them and they say, "Oh, P, our dorm is trashed. They didn't fix the rat problem." Right away, I'm furious. And of course, my roommate's parents are pissed because within a week of all of us moving in, best friend 1, 2, and 3 are all sick. So all of us start asking around trying to find out why nothing was ever done about our rat issue. Turns out that days after we checked out, they changed the rules where if you have a maintenance issue, the residents have to report it straight to maintenance instead of to the RA. So they did nothing about it, but didn't tell us, so hey, it's our fault now. All the while, I'm furiously telling Jerk all of the BS going down, and when I tell him that the parents got the dean of students involved, he's like the principal but higher up. He told me through a text, "Oh, the dean doesn't care about your rat problem." After reading that text, I get even more mad, and I'm telling my roommates, and they are telling their parents, and things get worse. When the dean gets wind of what Jerk said to us, he gets called in and he is chewed out. He then comes up to me and gets real mad, saying stuff like, "How could you do that to me? I got in a lot of trouble." I tell him I'm sorry and that he shouldn't have said it that way in the first place. I want to make something very clear. Jerk, up to this point, has not been a very good friend. I met him when I was very alone and vulnerable, so I just listened to whatever he said because I thought he cared. He has put me down a number of times and belittled me on numerous occasions. He was the kind of person who only kept friends so that he could use them and control them. I didn't stop talking to him or break up the friendship because I felt I deserved to be in that situation. Stupid, I know, but hey, what am I going to do? Later on, he finds out that I'm going to have a meeting with the dean of students to talk about compensation for our rat problem and no one doing anything about it, causing us to have health problems and outlet grades to go down. When he found out about my future meeting with the dean, he found me and decided to have a little chat with me. The words from his lips were, "Man, I can't believe you threw me under the bus. It was so hard for me to not tell the dean about all the animals you keep in your dorm." We never had any animals in our dorm. "I could have gotten you kicked out so easily. I could have told him about the liquor you have in your room." We had none. "Man, it had hurt me so much not to say anything." He paused for a moment and looked at me. He must have seen the fear in my eyes and liked the control he had over me, because he then said, "I didn't say anything because you're my friend. I didn't throw you under the bus. Stay my friend and you won't get into trouble." I knew that was blackmail the moment he said that, but at the time, I was so stunned and scared that I said nothing. Just to remind you, this jerk had put me through a lot, but I still thought he cared. I thought all the things he said about me was to help me become a better person. I didn't want to believe that he was a bad person. I went to lunch with him, then I got to the dean's office later on in the week and waited for my friends. I told best friend 1, 2, and 3 about what he said, and these little 5-foot-nothing girls went from the kindest people in the world to forces of nature in an instant. We went into the meeting with the dean, and we were told that we would be moved to the new set of dorms on campus and wouldn't be charged extra for this semester and the next semester. Later, when the mention of the jerk came up, the dean said that Jerk had told him that I had lied about Jerk saying that Dean didn't care. and that Jerk had actually said the dean was too busy, and that it was the residential assistant's job to take care of this. We of course corrected the dean, showing him the text message of Jerk saying differently. We then showed him what I had written down from what the Jerk said when he blackmailed me. I showed him through tear-filled eyes because I didn't want my friend to get in trouble. Right away he said something like, "This is horrible. I will fix this immediately." He let us go on our way, and we got what we were told we would be getting. After about a week, Jerk was brought back in, and he was told that he was not to talk to us. Then, weeks later, his family got a letter in the mail saying something like, "Hey, your son lost his job as a residential assistant. You owe us $10,000 for the free food he got from being a residential assistant and the free room we gave him." I am now happily living in a great apartment, have great friends, and Jerk still thinks that he's done nothing wrong and doesn't realize that what he said was blackmail. Edit. I'm sorry a lot of this doesn't make sense. It's hard to explain because this is still pretty fresh and things are still hard to explain. We had a really clean dorm room. What they told us was that it was actually a squirrel that had gotten in, but they didn't know how. And now we're heading over to r/petty revenge for 2 short but very sweet petty revenge stories. Try ignoring me now. On the way home from work, I decided to get some drive-thru. The drive-thru was designed to have 2 entry lanes, so 2 orders can be taken at the same time. Then the lanes merge into a single lane before it reaches the drive-thru windows. Me and another lady arrived at the same time, but I finished my order way before she did. I pull forward to where the 2 lanes are about to merge, and I wait because there's a car in front. A few minutes later, the lady finishes her order and arrives at the merge as well. When the car in front moved forward a little bit, this lady wedges her way into the merge to where I am forced to let her in first. I look to her to give her the stink eye, but she's looking forward, completely ignoring me, pretending that she didn't even just cut me off. Here's the revenge. The single lane takes a left turn, almost like a U-turn, before it reaches the window. So instead of following right behind the lady, I stay put. I wait until her car and my car are perpendicular to each other, and then, bam! I turn my brights on. She's stuck. She can't move forward, and she just has to take my lights shining right at her. I declared victory when she put her sun visor down. I was the only one left in line. No other cars were affected in the making of this petty revenge. And our final story. Stay right there, 'cause I just called the police. Background. My older child does youth triathlon and just got a bike with clip-in pedals. So today I took her to the local high school track to practice getting on and off. The track is the typical rubberized surface that won't hurt as much if you fall on it. Cause for petty revenge. As we were walking over to the track, this mid-aged guy starts telling me no bikes are allowed on the track and how the tires will damage the track. I ask him if he's with the public schools. He says no. I ask him if he's with the police. Again, he says no. I said the sign does not prohibit bikes. It does prohibit dogs, drinks besides water, spray paint, and other specific things. He argues with me, then says he's not going to argue with me. I said fine. I have a right to be here. My daughter has to go to the bathroom, so we go up to the school where we run into a facilities worker. I ask him if bikes are allowed on the track, and he says he doesn't know and doesn't care. Works for me. We go back to the track and see the guy pacing around, obviously irritated that my child has rolled her bike onto the track. I tell him, "Stay right there. I just called the police." I can see he's excited that he'll get his official "I told you so" moment. I start my run, and my daughter does her bike practice. For 45 minutes, this smug jerk stands by his car, staring at the track, waiting for justice to be served. Too bad, though. No police will be coming. I never made the call. Didn't even have my phone on me. I know I ruined part of his Sunday afternoon, and yes, he deserved it. Edit. I should also add the track is not new. It is outdoors and has patches that are bare to the asphalt below. Plenty of people use it on a regular basis. The bike is a road bike with no tire tread. There is no way my barely 90-pound daughter could have vandalized the track. And whatever. The sign doesn't say no bikes.
Give Mr. Reddit a thumbs up on this video, or I'll take your phone and give it to my son who deserves it.
That's all for now, but don't be blue. I'll be back soon with more stories for you. Remember to listen to Mr. Reddit every night so your dreams will be wonderful like you are and bright.